handle getting fired today.
But getting fired on TV doesn't suck. Getting fired in real life sucks more. And I can speak to that firsthand because when I went on The Apprentice, I was fired from my job, which left me with no income, no insurance, no car because I was in sales, and no computer.
Why were you fired?
Why were you fired?
Why were you fired?
I was fired from my job because my company had initially said to me, if you want to go try this experience, you still have your job. I signed the contract, and they said, wait a second, we're not going to do that. You don't have the time off. Guess what? You're fired.
So what did you do? You better gone in there with like guns blazing.
I did go in there with guns blazing, and I went straight to HR, and what I tried to do for myself, because I already knew I had to cut my losses. I knew I was done. There was nothing I could do. I wasn't going to give up my opportunity to be on The Apprentice in order to keep my job at Johnson & Johnson, which I wasn't necessarily happy with. So what I did is I tried to negotiate a good compensation package for myself. The minute you're fired, start going after some form of compensation package so you can walk away with some money, some benefits, something that you have in your back pocket to keep you up until the next job.
Well, I don't know about that. You know, I'm the executive of a company. I own my own company. And it's...
James, you gotta admit, number 7 out of 500 sales reps, it's pretty damn good.
Chicago's a happening city. I mean,
that's right.
I don't
get
James,
that. I work 70 hours a week easily every week. Why would I continue to work 70 hours at a pace in a sales job when I know I'm going out the door? I'm going to go find the next best thing for me. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to meet my customers' needs. I'm going to be responsible, not just for my company because I think that's important, but also for myself because I need to know I'm doing a good job. But I'm also going to go and find my next job. And I'm going to make sure I find an ally in the process as a reference point.
Are you going to find your next job on company time, or are you going to find your next job when you go?
I'm going to find it on company time. I'm going to find it while you're sitting there plotting to fire me.
Wow. I personally think that if an employee's working in a job, they need to continue their obligation until the day that they're terminated.
Aaron, I agree
with you also. The thing is...
Aimee, agreeing.
I agree with you, and here's the thing. I think that you have a responsibility to your company. The reason being is that, 1, you may need a reference. 2, more importantly, if you stay in the same market, in the same industry, you better be doing your job. Because if it gets out to your customers that you're slacking at work, I don't care what job you take next, if you're in that industry, you're done. A decision based on a person, based on one reference? You interview someone. 2 other guys in your company, you interview them. You really like the person. They're great. They're talented. We think they'd fit in well here. And all of a sudden, you call their old company and they're like, you're not going to hire someone based on a na-na after everyone else thinks they're so great?
I think it's clear that first, getting fired sucks. Second of all,
I think we're all in agreement on that.
Second of all,
and I mean that's the way that people know they can trust you is because you're traditional.
And that's a good point, Alex, but it doesn't transfer into every single profession. For example, I'm in sales, and I have to know my audience. So if I am going to one hospital one day, a lot of times I know I have to be in a suit, in a very conservative suit, depending if I'm meeting with the chairperson in the hospital. But on other days, like let's say I'm entertaining at night, I'm not going to be as conservative when I go out at night. I'm not going to, have the dark suit, and I'm going to, dress a little, I guess, less conservative, so to speak.
You're going to dress sexy to close the deal, right?
All right, Aaron, that's fair. It's a fair statement. But it's about knowing your audience, really. And I think that if that's what your audience is and that's what it takes in the legal field, that's certainly appropriate. But being in sales, it's a lot different.
So, Aimee, what you're saying is it's just depending on the situation.
It's depending on the situation. It depends on the environment. And also just depends on knowing your audience. If you're going out to dinner with a surgeon that, if I'm going to dinner with a surgeon that I know, wouldn't appreciate the fact that I'm wearing a shorter dress.
I got it.
It's all about knowing your audience. And Jen made a very clear point, and there's times where it's appropriate her to slutty Friday it up and go over the top in order to get her client's attention. And Alex brings a very good point to the table as well, where he says, you can't walk into a law firm wearing hot pants and 3.5-inch heels. It's not going to work in that environment.
Now, Aimee, when you're in the situations where it's appropriate to dress down a little bit, do you ever get the feeling that you're maybe going down that slippery slope and you're maybe pushing it too far? Because there are a lot of problems with sexual harassment in the workplace. Do you feel that dressing down in these situations enables that?
Dressing down, Aaron, or dressing sexy?
Well, however you'd like to put it, you say there's a situation where it's okay to loosen your tie, to put on a nice-looking blouse, and to sort of rub elbows with other people in your field. In those situations, is that enabling inappropriate behavior?
I don't think the behavior is inappropriate at all. I think that, quite frankly, it wouldn't be anything different than I'd wear out in any social function. I think it comes down to this. If it's going to be water cooler talk the following morning, it's probably not appropriate.
See, I disagree. I think you want to be water cooler talk. I'll make a confession here.
If you're just yourself, it really doesn't matter. Always be polished, look clean cut, and know your audience. I have my BA, and I think M in the MBA stands for money. I think if you want to invest a lot of money into your school and take 2 years out of your professional experience, go for it. That's great. I'm glad it helped both of you. It's not going to help me, so I'm not going there. There is importance in that, and I think you're saying that. That's exactly what you're saying. There's importance in it, but at the same time, why can't you learn it in a real-world business environment? An MBA degree does not give you carte blanche to just go ahead and say, okay, I can run a company now. I have my MBA.
We're talking about communication, and I think that's one of the vital tools that you learn in a graduate degree, in any graduate degree. You're learning proper communication, whether it's written or oral, any presentation skills that are going to last you through your career.
But Aaron, to be successful in business, don't you have to be a good, solid communicator regardless?
You do. So an MBA would definitely help people who maybe don't have the infrastructure to develop themselves, or they just don't have the tools.
So you're saying it's for people that are maybe communicator handicapped?
No,
I congratulate Jen. I'm thrilled that you got your MBA, but what is it really doing for you? How is it advancing your career? An undergraduate degree is nowhere near the astronomical amount that an MBA costs, and the whole point is really, truly, to be successful in a business environment or to go get your first job, you almost have to have an undergraduate degree these days.
Right, because it's like high school. Basically, your undergraduate degree is tantamount to having a high school diploma.
I think having a high school diploma and not having an undergraduate
that's a strong
degree,
statement, James. I don't know how you want to deal with that one.
What's wrong with that? It's the same thing. It's a big high school.
It's absolutely not the same thing. I absolutely disagree in regards to an MBA. A JD, absolutely. A PhD, yes. If you want to get a MD, you absolutely have to have that. But an MBA is not necessarily a requirement. Aaron knows he needs this in order to continue to move up the ladder for the company he works for.
But why does it have to be an ends to justify a means?
Aaron, good for you for getting your MBA paid for by your company, but not everybody has that option. I congratulate you in achieving your MBA. I think it's fantastic. For me personally, I don't need it to be successful. I don't need it to go further in my career, and quite frankly, it would do nothing but cost me money. If it works for you,
how do you know that if you don't have one?
That doesn't make me a caveman or cavewoman.
We would be civilized then.
I know.
And we're not civilized,
no,
obviously.
clearly we're not.
We're not just being snobs about this.
There's education all over.
And I congratulated you on your MBA. I just don't think that it's necessary, and I don't think James feels the same way, that it's not important for us to move ahead and be successful in our professional careers.
In fact, we respect it so much that we take it seriously why we would go do it. That's really what we're saying, is if you're going to do it, make sure it's for a purpose, make sure you're getting a return. We respect it. We're not saying it's not good.
You guys have both probably considered it at some point. Have you considered getting your MBA at any point?
No, and never.
You've never considered it?
I've thought about it, and I've thought it's a huge waste of time and money for where I'm at in my professional career.
You thought about it, and you made your own decision.
Sure.
I think